Be Chukwufumnanya, Fumilayo Isichei. She's a process engineer with software seat engineering. So just a little about her. She earned her first degree in chemical engineering from Covenant University, where she was recognized as the best graduating student in her department. Her career began at Nest Oil Limited as a graduate trainee, after which she advanced to a process engineering role. From Naya completed an MSc in Process and Bioprocess Engineering at EMT Atlantic here in France between 2020 to 2022. Currently, she works as a process engineer, software system engineering in France. And then beyond work, Funmi is passionate about continuous learning and making meaningful contribution to the engineering domain. So she will go ahead to speak more about interview preparation and common mistakes that we make. And in addition, she was a former Total Energy international scholar here in France. So go ahead. Thank you. You're muted.
Okay. Hello. Good evening. I don't know what time it is, but good evening anyways. Thank you to the organizers and the people who spoke ahead of me. My name is Funmi, and I'm going to be presenting my experience. I can share my screen, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. It's here. Oh crap. Oh, so sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. Okay, so I was told to speak about interview preparations and common mistakes. So yeah, just my reference would be my scholarship, Total Energies International Masters Degree Scholarship, NMPC also. Well, yeah, you know how that goes. Okay. I already said it, but I'll still say it again. The speakers ahead of me, thank you. I think you guys did a good job because I also learned a few things. I haven't written like proposals and all of those stuff. So maybe in the future when I need them, I'll come calling. All right. To dive straight into it, just my timeline. I'm putting this for reference so that you know it's not, you don't have all the time. Everything happens like real, like fast. Like for me, from application to receiving the scholarship was just a little bit over 2 months. So I was told by Chris and Joshua to speak about my experiences. So here it is. The application typically opens February to early March. I think sometimes now it's January. I don't know. But yeah, I submitted mine 2nd of March, test invite 11th April, like that. You can see it in the slides. I did the aptitude tests, interview, panel interview, and then I got the scholarship. So aptitude test. The aptitude test is not your typical dragnet. I know if you're out of school, you probably know dragnet and the rest. But it's not dragnet. It's conducted by Saville Consulting. I think it's a South African-based company. So it was a bit different. So if you're going for this scholarship, I would say research on them and you've been invited for the aptitude test. And the aptitude test is for 18 minutes. Yeah, it's not long. 18 minutes to do verbal, numeric, and diagrammatic. And I kid you not when I say the numeric, you need time. But well, it was 18 minutes and you have to do all of this in 18 minutes. It's a supervised test. Okay, no, I think I should put a caveat here because I was a COVID year person, so 2020. So everything happened online. I didn't go anywhere. I stayed in my house to do everything. So I don't know if it has changed. But for me, I was home and it was a monitor test. So like your camera has to be on. Somebody is monitoring you. If you have any questions, if you make some like sus movements, like you're talking to somebody, those things are flagged. So yeah, it was an online test. What next? That's for the test. For the panel interview, so you know it's not just academics. These were the people on the panels. Total Nigeria CSR, the head of scholarship in France, Campus France representative, and a representative from the visa office. So these people introduce themselves, and obviously, as you expect, they also ask you questions from each of their various fields or whatever they represent. For reference, Campus France coordinates all the scholarships in France. For PTDF, any scholarship from any country, Campus France coordinates it. So yes, so this is the panel interview, which is the next stage after the aptitude test. And for the panel interview, I just did a brief slide. So it's in two parts. We have your self-introduction and an in-depth panel interview. For your self-introduction, just what I can say is like sell yourself and be ready to defend any gap in your CV. I don't know about you, but there are gaps in my CV. So I'll give you an example. For example, I'll give you an example rather. There's a gap in my CV like between NYSC and my first job in Nesto. So I was between 2017 and 2019. When in fact my NYSC experience is not in my CV because I was a teacher. I taught math. So I felt it was not like relevant in my application. So I didn't put it in my CV. And of course, I had to explain that because the panel interview also asked me. So I had to talk about that. So find a way to tie in any gap years you've had, anything you feel like they may question, be ready to explain, be ready to defend your CV really. And self-introduction is usually in 5 minutes. So yeah, I would suggest like practice, that will come later, but practice, stand in front of the mirror, all the things that people ahead of me have said. And this is probably not your first time hearing it also. So yeah, practice, practice, and practice how to introduce yourself in 5 minutes because they're going to give you 5 minutes. I don't want to say like rush because like you have a lot to say, so you want to rush and try to finish fast. Don't rush, pace yourself. But at the same time, don't rush and now do it in 2 minutes. That looks like you have nothing to say. So still try to expatiate on everything you want to say, your experience, your academics. Obviously, as they've mentioned earlier, you're not starting from when you were born. You're starting from like your adult experiences, probably university for most people. So I graduated here, this, that. Yeah. And then the in-depth panel interview. Wait, I checked my notes. One more thing for the self-introduction, I would say, like when you talk, normally they give you time to like finish and then they ask questions. But you could also say like, if anything's not clear, stop me when you're free and I will explain better, something like that. That's good practice. So the in-depth panel interview, when I was told to talk about this, I tried to like reflect and think a lot on what I needed to say. But yeah, okay. So like the name implies, it was in depth. So first of all, I would say do your homework. Learn about the city, learn about the country, learn about the course you want to do. I didn't think like the city I was going to mattered because I didn't know who was going to be on the panel. Something I did not do, which people ahead of me have already talked about, was talk with other people. I didn't talk with other scholars because it was like COVID year. I had a lot on my plate at work, so I didn't really reach out to people. And like I said, like I got the interview notification just like few days before the interview itself, so I didn't have like time. But I advise you to talk to people. So for me, that has passed through it, I would say like learn about everything you want to, about the school, about the city. I'm saying the city because like it's in France. And I remember then thinking, I schooled in Nantes and I always thought it was Nantes, like the pronunciation for whatever reason. And then they kept asking me, why are you going to Nantes? Why do you want to go to Nantes? I'm like, what the hell is Nantes? But just for me to realize like, oh, that's actually how it's said. Oh, okay, cool. So they're like, okay, what do you know about Nantes? What do you know about the school? Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, learn about that. What else? Another question I was asked was, don't think you know it all. So what difficulties do you expect to face? Culture shock. So think about that. Like we know it's not going to be a smooth sailing operation. So what difficulties do you anticipate? I think then I was like, oh, definitely culture shock, language barrier, and all of that. So think about something like that. Why you chose the course. That was another question, yes. So think about why you chose the course. What does it mean for you? I think there was also a question, obviously, like how is that going to benefit Nigeria? So think about that. What are you going to say? It has to make sense, of course. So these are just like ideas to prepare you before you speak. If you ever have to speak in front of a panel for a scholarship interview. An interesting question also was like how the course I want to do ties into my own career plan. So you have to think about that also. So I would say like talk about your career plans and talk about where you are at the moment. So and try to fit in like the moments of today, whatever moment it is for you, and how that course is going to tie into it, and how you're like you're already on the path. So it's not like you're not just futuristically thinking, yeah. You're not just thinking futuristically, you're you're already on a path and you're like, okay, I'm already doing A, B, C, D, and this course is going to be like the E, or this course is going to be like the next step. So I'm already on this path, and I think this is a good addition to my journey. So make it look like you're already on a path to something. You're already heading somewhere. What else? Of course, they act like 5-year plan, all the general stuff that they always talk about. So think about that. Think about like yeah, really how it affects your life, Nigeria, the school, everything, and the plans you have after the school. Like after you do your master's, what do you expect to do with the degree? Do you want to stay in the country you're going? Do you want to come back home? Of course, I know everybody is going to stay in the country wherever it is they go. But then at the moment, because you've already answered how it will benefit you in Nigeria and how it will benefit Nigeria, you also have to think of, okay, I already said it's going to benefit Nigeria. And then your next answer is, oh, I'm going to stay in France and I'm going to look for a job. No, it's kind of like contradictory. So think about that.
Um,
Yeah, be bold.
okay.
I mean, for the total scholarship, we total usually picks 10 people from different countries. So like 10 from Nigeria, 10 from wherever Total has a presence, Angola, wherever, name it. They pick 10 people from each of these countries. So yeah. So if it's going to be somebody, it's going to be 10 people, I mean, why can it not be you? So I want you to think positively. In preparation, I would say don't treat it as like any other interview. I'm sure like most of you, if not all of you, have already done like interviews before or test or some sort of assessment. Even if you've not done any of these, you did your project defense. So you have some experience talking before a panel. So don't treat it like every other interview. Treat each interview with its own specificities. Yeah. So treat it interview as it is. And yeah, for me, I think that's what I would say. Tips. I don't expect to talk for long. So please, if
You
I'm
have
extending my time, let me
you have
know.
1 minute.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, that was it. And then for my tips, as it is here, the topic was tips and mistakes. So I put just one slide because like the opposite is the mistake. So be confident, be punctual. I was commended for being punctual, even though it was an online meeting. So be punctual, do your homework, do your research, be succinct, do not yap, do not talk too much. Leave room for them to ask you questions. Don't just talk. And there's talking too much of you know it all. And there is the talking too much because you're nervous. So both of them to avoid them. Practice, like I said, presenting yourself before. I'm sorry, that's French. How do you say it in English? Practice like how you could present yourself before a panel, talk in the mirror and all of that. Give it your 100% or more. Uh, Listen when they ask questions and answer the question that was asked. Do not yap. And I think that's it for me. So
Yeah,
thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting all of you.
thank you very much, Funmi, for the presentation. So we have just two people that will speak to us in the next 10 minutes for each of them.